Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. Going to be talking about Mason Greenwood, the Manchester United young footballer. I'm just going to talk about what the Crown Prosecution Service said. Basically, they discontinued its case against Greenwood in February. Man United announced it has been mutually agreed for Forward to recommence his career away from the club, warning that the content in this article includes graphic language which may cause distress. Of some of the obviously the videos between Greenwood and his girlfriend, which happened before. Sky Sports news chief reporter Cava answers the key questions as Manchester United announced that Mason Greenwood would be leaving the club. Greenwood would be leaving the club following an internal investigation into the allegations of attempted rape, controlling, covert behaviour and assault against him. The 20-year-old has been suspended from Manchester United training and matches while the club completed an internal investigation after the Crown Prosecution Services discontinued the case against Greenwood. In a statement in February, the CPS said in this case, a combination of the withdrawal of key witnesses and new material that came to light meant there was no longer a realistic prospect for a conviction. In a statement, the club said, this is Manchester United, all those involved, including Mason, recognised the difficulties with him recommencing his career at Manchester United. It has therefore been mutually agreed that it would be most appropriate for him to do so away with Old Trafford, and we will now work with Mason to achieve that outcome. The statement also said, based on the evidence available to us, we have concluded that the material posted online did not provide a full picture and that the Mason did not commit the offence in respect to which he was originally charged. That said, as Mason publicly acknowledges today, he has made mistakes which he is taken responsibility. I mean, look, it does go on, but I was listening to Talk Sport this morning where a lot of basically Man United fans were divided on this. And there was a lot of other organisations who obviously stand up for women and rights, didn't see him as a good role model to play for Manchester United, which is fair enough. Look, something happened that he did to her, basically, and that's not going to go away. But I just want to go into a program which is Talk TV. They talked about it with Piers Morgan, the host, and just to see what he had to say about it. Is he innocent? And it's a panel debate. Let's get straight into it.
To our next story of the evening, and I'm afraid to say it's certainly not upbeat in any way, but we're going to have an interesting discussion about this. Manchester United, Mason Greenwood, that player, they've agreed to part ways following an internal investigation by the club. Let's remind you what happened. The now 22-year-old was arrested and charged for attempted rape and assault in January last year. The striker later had the charges against him dropped after a key witness withdrew their support and new material came to light. United, who launched their own investigation, said today that their inquiries have now ended. United spokesperson saying all those involved, including Mason, recognised the difficulties with him recommencing his career at Manchester United. It has therefore been mutually agreed that it would be most appropriate for him to do so away from Old Trafford, and we will now work with Mason to achieve that outcome. That was the statement from the club. I am joined now.
It sounds like to me Manchester United are playing it down a bit. For me personally, I'm just going to come straight out of there. They're looking at what happened, they're looking at his character, and they don't think this is good for the young generation to see this, and him still being a Manchester United player at the end of the day. Yet they are trying to play it down, yet he wasn't charged for it. We don't know whether people were paid off left, right and centre. at the end of the day, but it's not going any further now. One thing I do know, something did happen that the young girl wasn't happy with, and it got all over the internet. But look, let's get on with it.
Now to discuss more of this by Professor Ellis Cashmore, academic and author of the book Studying Football, and by the UK's first female FIFA licensed football agent, Rachel Anderson. The two of you, great to have you to speak about this. Hello, good evening. And I'd like to make clear that obviously the allegations at the heart of this are sensitive. They involve young people. Not here to make a moral judgment against either party. Those were the facts of what's happened that we just reminded people of. The allegations and then the fact that they were dropped and the negotiations that have happened since then. And Greenwood hasn't been playing. We've been wondering what's going to happen to him. What is interesting to talk to you both about is the fact that the club at this point has had to almost step in and play judge and jury about what to do with Mason Greenwood's future, whether to keep him on or not. I will come to you first, Rachel, and just ask you very simply, have they made the right call here?
They've made the right call for Man United for sure, because they have an asset that they would like to get some of their money back for, and he's a very valuable asset. I mean, he's a great player, there's no denying that, but he just wouldn't be able to play here, that's for sure. So they need to try and loan him out and try and get some money for him, hopefully with a potential sale.
It's just, I can understand Man United want to cut their losses and maybe get money for him or loan him out, or basically. But like I said, I know they're not trying to ruin Mason Greenwood's life or put things out there at the end of the day. But he must wonder, look, I'm not guilty. Why can't I play for Manchester United? But like I said, I think maybe the owners don't want him as a role model. This is what I think for the Man United youth teams. If they look into it, it was all over the internet, and young footballers may think that they can do the same or abuse women, which you cannot do, especially when you're in the public light.
To a country where he'll be happy and everyone else will be happy.
Okay, there's a lot I want to ask you about your comments, but I also just want to get across to Professor Ellis Cashmore and get your simple answer to that. Have the club made the right decision?
No, poor decision.
Go on.
Because I think they're shirking the responsibility. United, they're a club. As such, I think they should at least give this guy a chance to rehabilitate himself. Everybody's capable of making a mistake, particularly in their youth. I have. I'm sure most of our viewers have at some point in their lives. And so they should be given a second chance. United are denying this guy that.
I mean, I'll come back to you, Rachel. You were listening to that just there. I hope you could hear what Professor Ellis Cashmore was saying. I'll allow you to respond. Go on.
Well, it's not Man United's job to rehabilitate somebody. Why would you need to rehabilitate somebody if they haven't done anything wrong?
First of all, I think it is the football club's responsibility to rehabilitate. Sport, historically, has been one of those experiences where people from all walks of life who have made mistakes, sometimes been in trouble with the law, sometimes have done prison time.
Look, I agree. You've had drinkers in football, and the club and they confide in the manager or the chairman, and the club try to keep it under wraps and try to sort her out in-house. But look, like I said, he wasn't basically, he didn't do any prison time for it, he didn't do any community service for it at the end of the day. But the story I got at the end of the day, he was pretty nasty to her. There's a lot of people who are going to agree with it, and there's a lot of people who can support him. Maybe no, he didn't. No, he did that. But that's just, I read the whole story of what she said, basically, and it wasn't right.
Time they go to sport and they find themselves in sport. They find themselves some positive direction, some pursuit, and they usually can straighten a shouldn't say usually, but a great many times they can straighten themselves out. So I think football does have a sense of responsibility in that sense.
Can I just ask? Can I just ask just quickly so that I can understand where the professor's coming from? Do you have daughters, or sisters, or anybody?
I have no children.
You have no children, okay. Because there are certain things that if a child misbehaves, then you'll give them another chance. But when something is as serious as this, how many chances do you get?
You're saying it's serious, Rachel, but all charges have been dropped. This is
we all know, we're not silly. We all know that occasionally...
You say you're not silly. Legally, the man is free and clear. He has done nothing wrong in the eyes of the law.
So just to jump in here, he's not been cleared from the point of view of having been tried on those allegations. The allegations were withdrawn by a key witness.
Well, there is a difference,
other material came forward. Go on.
The outcome is the same. He is a free man.
No,
and there are no charges pending.
Let's listen to Mason Greenwood's statement in full. He said, "I want to start by saying I understand people will judge me because of what they've seen and heard on social media, and I know people will think the worst. I was brought up to know violence or abuse is wrong. I did not do the things I was accused of. However, I fully accept I made mistakes. I take my share of responsibility for the situations which led to the social media post. I'm learning to understand."
But the problem is, he put them on there. So you're going to be judged by that. Obviously, what he said, what she said, whatever family members said, it's still going to be out there. People are still going to say, look, at the end of the day, did this really happen? They're going to judge him. It's just if someone else famous hit a woman or abused a woman or was aggressive, it's going to be, it's going to taint your name and it's going to be on there. People are still going to be looking at this case in years to come. At the end of the day, yeah, he made a mistake, and yes, I think he deserves a second chance. But this was quite a serious case.
Understand my responsibilities to set a good example as a professional footballer. Then he goes on to talk about the decision made with the club. Like I said, really complex set of allegations here, very complicated. We have to reiterate the charges were withdrawn, dropped. There have been.
And the upshot of this, Rosanna, is that this guy is not going to find another club, certainly not in England, probably not in Europe, nor even in Saudi. The guy has been put out to dry and may no longer have any kind of professional career ahead of him.
Go ahead, Rachel, because you brought up in your first answer that he would find it hard to find work in this country, but you think he could find work overseas?
Of course. I mean, there's a matter of an actual fact is that most clubs will do a deal with the devil, and it's just he is an amazing player, and any club that gets him as a player will get a good deal.
But what about the clubs?
I heard basically Roma want him, and I think maybe going to Italy or even Spain would be brilliant for him. At the end of the day, I can't, he's that good. I really can't see him going anywhere else. But his ex-manager, Mourinho, knows him. He would probably keep him under wraps, get him playing some lovely football. And before you know it, give it a couple of years, he'll probably be playing for someone like Chelsea or even Arsenal or, or even Man City, one of the big teams in years to come, So it's a catch-2 situation. He does something wrong. A lot of people would forgot about it in a few years' time.
Sponsors, they may not be so keen on him.
So what's Man United supposed to do? They're just supposed to just let him sit on the sidelines?
Well,
you have no idea.
Rachel, for all we know,
how difficult that would be for the player to never play. All his life, as short as it is, he has trained. He is very skilled. And he will want to play, whether it's at Man United or whether it's another club. He will want to play.
I know he'll want to play, but how many clubs are willing to take the risk with him?
Let's also talk about the reason why, one of the key reasons likely why they couldn't retain him, which was fans. There've been women fans outside the club who've been protesting outside and saying they want Man U to take this seriously.
They will at every other club he attempts to go to.
And there have been there's been a differentiation, some are saying, between the match day fans and what they're saying in the stadium, and then versus the online fans who are probably quicker quicker to make judgment, because obviously we know being behind a keyboard allows you to say things a lot more quickly.
You're right.
So in terms of the pressure that the club is facing, how has that influenced things, Rachel?
If you're currently paying for a subscription to a doorbell camera, stop now. This revolutionary, affordable subscription...
Look, my point on that is that when you've got some of the fans, which are women, which are young girls, which are young boys, which are men, and they're turning around and saying this, we don't want him at the club at the end of the day, and he's not a good role model, they're going to get rid of him because they want to keep the fans on side. That's as simple as that. So they must have had a few complaints, Manchester United.
Well, they have an industry that they have to protect it. You know, they have their sponsors, etc. And
so the sponsors are a factor in the mix.
Sorry?
Go on, Alice. Sorry.
So the sponsors are a factor in the mix, you reckon now?
No, I've always reckoned that sponsors are in the mix. I didn't say they weren't.
Maybe Adidas had something to say about this?
I just think that the fact that you're saying that Man United should keep him to rehabilitate him, I've never heard anything so ridiculous, to be honest.
Professor, I also want to ask...
Let me just remind Rachel, and I think she may recall the Eric Cantona incident. I mean, it was a long time ago, 27 years or whatever. This is a guy that was convicted and sentenced to jail time. He didn't serve it initially because he appealed it, but Manchester United stood by Cantona. In fact, they pursued him. They went cap in hand to ask him to come back.
Yeah.
Perhaps we're mixing our conceptions of rehabilitation here. I'm not saying that...
Look, I suppose we can argue about it, and you know, the matter is that Manchester United have let him go. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes to Italy or Spain to rebuild his career, but it also wouldn't surprise me that he'll be back here in a couple of years' time playing for one of the big teams, and a lot will be forgotten at the end of the day, because obviously I'm not saying everyone's forget, and I'm not saying basically what he done, because he did do something which was bad, being aggressive to his girlfriend, being abusive, hitting her at the end of the day. But look, we all know it was out there at the end of the day, but he does deserve a chance to turn his life around and get on with it at the end of the day. But look, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. But like I said, that decision's made now. I do think on a footballing scale, I think Man United will miss him because he is a fabulous player, but I think due to basically sponsorships and that, I think Man United are happy that they've come to this conclusion, which is fair enough.
Totally different. The accusations are
really?
totally different.
The difference is that he was convicted.
That was also going to raise
different.
Professor Ellis, the point that I know there have been previous examples of sportsmen and footballers who have broken rules and been, charged and convicted even, and have remained with clubs. Is this not a sign of the times changing?
It is.
Yeah.
You're precisely right. The times are changing and in fact they've changed colossally since the Me Too movement gained momentum, which is a great thing, of course. But it is symptomatic of the world in which we live that no one is prepared to stand by someone who is, in the eyes of the law, innocent, but has the stigma attached to him or her, as the case may be.
The charges,
and this is the problem.
The charges were dropped, or the case didn't continue because a witness withdrew. I would like to know what the percentage is, and someone far cleverer than me will be able to tell me. The tiny percentage of rape cases or sexual assault that actually go to trial, because invariably if it's a sexual assault against a female, it's the female that withdraws because of the pressure and the terrible situation. I mean, there are thousands of rapes, unfortunately, every year, of which a tiny tiny percentage go to court, let alone get convicted.
Rachel, we do also have to clarify, of course, that the charges were withdrawn and dropped. But hearing your point loud and clear, both of you, we have to end things there. Really appreciate it, though. It's been fascinating. Thanks so much.
Look, that's the end of it. There are two sides to every story. I can understand why fans would want him to stay at the club. I can understand why fans wouldn't think that is a good representation for the club, which is fair enough. So leave your comment, tell me what you think, and don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment. Thanks for the old subscribers who supported me from day one and the new subscribers. Thank you.